once said that innovation is what distinguishes between a leader and a follower. So today our guest is someone who is very famous in the Sri Lankan tech arena, who is none other than Mr. Heminda Jayaweera, who is a tech entrepreneur and a serial innovator. Mr. Jayaweera is having a bachelor's from the University of Moratuwa related to electronic engineering and also a master's in technology management. He is also the founder of Mora Ventures, which is a startup incubator at University of Moratuwa, and also the Venture Frontier, which is the Sri Lanka's first ever integrated platform for the startup developments. He is also the CEO of Sri Lanka Institute of Nanotechnology and also the director at a medical startup called Gendo Innovations Private Limited and also Effective Solutions. He is also the founder of a very interesting venture, which is the Turu, which is a reforestation project with technology development.
Let me again welcome Mr. Heminda. So let's start with something light before we start shooting the more serious questions at you. If I were to ask a bunch of people who know you to give me three words that would best describe you, what would I hear?
I'll give you two then, right? So one of the things, so I can't give you straight away just a simple answer, but then, so one of the things that I realized over a period of time, even though my background is engineering, I'm not that good in engineering. So that I realized after many years. So, but then very recently, I would say 3 to 4 years time, I realized that I'm good at finding talent. So it's always about talent. So if you ask for a word, it's about talent. So it's not me that I'm not that talented, but then I'm good at finding talent. So the second word is maybe innovation. So it's something that I really been working how to identify the real true meaning of innovation in terms of Sri Lankan. I mean, innovation, a lot of people come up with different definition, different way of expressing it, that but what is really as a Sri Lankan, how you should understand the true meaning of innovation, I think that's became a bit of a revelation for me also. So maybe 2 words.
So, Mr. Jayaweera, what motivated you to choose your path? Did your family background have any impact on this decision?
Well, it's so if I look at, I mean, my parents, they never sort of I would say push me to anything. So never push me to anything. For example, I know a lot of parents do that, especially these days. So they want your children to become doctors, study. So my parents, my mother, father, never really pushed me to anything. So I think that was one reason. I had a lot of freedom. So I could decide where I want to be. So I think that freedom was one of the reasons that helped me to think maybe different to others. I think that's the main reason. Then, but even with that, I don't think I had identified where I was explaining that my real talent is. So that's why somewhere down the line I realized electronics engineering is very exciting thing to do. So I thought, okay, only way that you can become electronics engineer, you have to get into Moratuwa. So then somehow the other I managed to do A levels well and got selected. Then by the time that I selected to do engineering also, well, electronics engineering out of the other fields. But then I realized that's not my field. So by the time I graduated, then I realized, okay, this is not. But then you can't suddenly change, right? Because after you got the qualification, so then I realized my talent is not engineering, but somewhere in between. So I'm trying to still figure it out. So I selected my first job somewhere in between, where you manage technology, you work with engineers, but you are in a more of a best of both worlds. So I didn't have management background, but I selected my first job somewhere in between, like a more of a area in a technology company in a more management side. So then I was Then one of the things I did was, still I'm not happy. So I was going through various departments, various areas, and trying to identify what is my real talent. And then after maybe working for 11 years in corporate life, I realized corporate life is not my area. But what I did well is actually, it happened during my university time also. I knew that I'm not good with sports. So I had a target during my university time. I want to be one of the best sportsmen at university arena. So which I did, which I achieved. And similarly, I want to, during my corporate life also, I wanted to achieve. So I knew that I'm not good at marketing, but that's an area that I want to really learn. So in fact, I almost became like a head of the marketing that company, one of the blue chip companies. Almost. I never became the head of marketing, but I was actually doing, short period of time, I was doing what head of marketing is supposed to do. So wherever there is something that I don't know, I wanted to do that area. So I think that really spiraled me to identify where my real talent is. And then I realized corporate life is not my talent. My talent is in product innovation and coming up with startups. So I think still I believe that's my area. But again, what I realized very recently is my real talent is finding talent.
Can you tell us some of your achievements which you are most proud of?
Well, it's different achievements. For example, initially one of the biggest achievements that I had was getting into University of Moratuwa. So that, and one of the things that I really like is, which I even today take it as an achievement, I became 25th in the batch. So this is out of like the best set of students in mathematics stream, and I became the 25th in the batch. So not the final year, first year. So after that, I thought, okay, I had enough of achievements for my education. I don't want to do anything. In fact, second year I almost failed. So I didn't go for any lectures, I think. So and then one of the things I wanted to get into Moratuwa was, there were two things. One is I wanted to do electronics. So getting selected for electronics was one of the achievements, because I was the batch 25th. Second one was, up to my school time, I never did a sport. One of the biggest mistake. But then I was very, but I knew I want to do a sport at national level. So then I came to Moratuwa to do sport only. So first thing is to getting selected to engineering, which is the toughest one. Second one, after the next 3 years, I was actually doing rowing only. The entire my 3 years was only rowing, which actually I rowed in the Sri Lankan Nationals also. So I think that's one of my best achievements. So I didn't do any sports up to my high school, but then I did one of the toughest sports in the world, which is rowing, and then I came to national level as well, and we beat Sri Lanka Army also. So at that time, so that was one of my achievements. So very some time back. So recently, I think I'm really proud of sort of startups that I started, but then it's a long way to go. So I can't say that I have achieved anything, but it's a sort of a still in the destination is far away, so it's in the process. So yeah.
I wish you reach that destination very soon. Can you describe your leadership style, and how would you see your leadership style? Which phase are you currently in terms of leadership style?
I don't know theoretical models or anything. So generally, my style is I follow Jack Ma style. So not that I'm a Jack Ma, but so what Jack Ma said was, try to find people who are more talented than you. So it makes, for example, at Slintech, there are 25 PhDs working for me. So I'm not saying that I'm better than them. So actually they are more talented than me. But then when you have 25 PhDs under you, your work becomes very easy. I mean, there are 25 brainy people, more brainy than me, is there. So work becomes really easy for me. So most of the things I can just give it to them and make sure that it will get done. So I think that's the style that I'm looking at. So, but then if you look at Thuru, I work with not really Thuru, but actually if you look at Zero Trash, I work with people like the lowest labor level, like people who clean roads, clean garbage. So I work with that type of people also. So it's a different people you have to work in a different way. But then, but generally, I always look at if you find the talent and let them work on their own. So you just you don't have to direct anything. It's about let them work the way they want and find work for them that they feel like it's not working. So it's not now, for example, say last week I all 5 days I was working. Saturday I'm lecturing full day at University of Moratuwa. Sunday I had a full day workshop through Venture Frontier Lanka. So but I don't feel like I'm working 7 days. So it's like it's your life. So then you don't have to even talk about work-life balance. There's nothing like that. I don't believe in work-life balance because there's nothing called work-life balance. But if you do what you like to do, then things becomes very easy. So you don't feel like you are working 7 days. There's nothing like that. So it's, but then your leadership style should be, you should allow you people under you or your subordinates also to work in that environment. So they should feel that, you know, you are not doing a 8 to 5 job. You are doing what need to be done. It's a part of your life. So if you just work for your subordinates also to do the same way, I think you can get more than 100% from your subordinates. So that's okay.
So what drives you both professionally and personally?
When I was born, my mother came from UK. So my both parents, they got the chance to move into UK. So basically my father studied in the UK. So they were living in that country. So then after that my mother got married and they were both living in the UK. So then somewhere down the line they realized they should come back to Sri Lanka. So actually they came to Sri Lanka and few months before I was born. So I think that is the story that really, so always I think it's, I got number of chances to go outside. I mean, I got a chance to do my PhD also one of the UK universities. Then, so every time when I think about it, then I worked in the UK for about 1 year. So I always had the chance to work there. But then always I look at moving out of Sri Lanka should not be the case. You have to come back to Sri Lanka. So even if you look at so every day you will feel like, you know, Sri Lanka, the leaders are not doing what should be done. The country is in not where you should be. So I always had the chance to go out of the country. But then that I think it's my parents' motivation. It's really I want to do something for the country. Then I was looking at it can't be just doing a profession like a job won't help me. For that maybe I could have gone outside Sri Lanka and do a. So it should be something beyond doing your own job. So I was thinking what it should be. So earlier I thought it's maybe I should do something like become an expert in some area, for example, best marketeer in the country or best engineer in the country or something. But then I realized it's becoming a professional takes a long time to change something. But if you want to change the country, it should be you should be part of the engine of growth, which is entrepreneurship or which is innovation. So you have to be someone who's leading the innovations or entrepreneurship in the country, one of them. So that's what drives me. So I want to be in that position. So maybe I should create not just a business, but I should create a separate industry for the country, so that can create that next we call it the technology S-curve or whatever, that change the entire country. So that's my motivation. So it's not about working for someone or creating my startup, or it's about creating something totally different for the entire country. So that's what drives me. So whatever that I do is to achieve that.
So what products and markets you currently operate in?
There's many, yes. So under my software company, we do a lot of IoT, Internet of Things. So we work on that domain. then my startup on Gendo, we work on a very unique product on biomedical device. So it's a biomedical device space, and again it's a very early stage. So early stage in the sense we are now 3 years old, but then in biomedical industry 3 years is still you are at prototype stage. So we are actually still at prototype stage, but looking at the first commercial model. So that's where we work. Then Turu is already gone into public. We are making money, so it's a different level. But then it's a more of a social enterprise model. So it's not really going after profit, but then we make certain amount of money to manage the operation. So it's a into environment related products. Then zero trash also we are looking at. We are still not making money. Actually, I'm losing money every day, but then we are looking at a target that we can break even within next couple of months. So our product is actually we clean the cities. We clean cities for people and give that trash to a recycling company. So that's our model. So it's we are like collectors of garbage. So that's our product.
So you're renowned for being a serial innovator. So do you use any process to come up with new innovative ideas?
Yeah, so the process that I use is design thinking, which is generally, I truly believe that, for example, I will give you example, lot of people come because I am in this environment and I go and do lot of workshops for university students and all that. A lot of people come to me with ideas. So that's, so I don't get ideas. I'm not an idea person. So I never get ideas. So most of the ideas are other people's ideas that I try to focus or mold it in a different way. So that's how I work. For example, if somebody comes with an idea, I will, if I see there's a value in the idea, plus if the person is really entrepreneurial, I partner with him. So that's my model. So so generally I follow design thinking process to mold that idea into a more of a to match with the customer requirement and truly see the big picture. I use design thinking. So that's my process that I use.
So networking is a very essential facet of modern day business. How do you use personal networks to influence strategies?
Yeah, I think it's a very important question. So a lot of things that I achieved actually is through networking. I think one of the things that not something that I learned or studied somewhere, but then I have mastered that in the last couple of years. So a lot of things, for example, I get a lot of things done through my network now. So I think it's, I always believe it's not what you know, but whom you know. So so what I generally do, I'll give you one example. For example, when I wanted to move into startups, one of the things I studied was who are the people who are very strong in the startup ecosystem. So I was mapping few people. So I generally even I do that today even. So for example, if I want to move into certain area, that I start mapping who are the leaders in the country or even outside the country. So I start, and then if I realize that I want to meet this person, I start studying that person. Not only simply who he is, but a lot of other things. For example, I start studying what he what are the things he liked most. So why I do that is I'm waiting for the moment that I meet him. So I can't, at that moment I can't talk about technical stuff, because I'm getting ready for that elevator pitch. So what I do normally is I study this guy. For example, if I want to meet say Mahesh Amali, right? Then no point talking about textile industry with Mahesh Amali, right? Because you can't keep a conversation with him because he's about there, I'm here, right? So you have to look at a topic that interests him, as well as you can be a part of that conversation. So it can't be always your startup idea also. So maybe something else. So I start studying who is him, who is this person, what he likes most, and maybe sometimes where is he at this point of view. So when you are when you do that, when you get the moment of meeting this particular guy that you want to you really tried for several years or maybe, then you have a perfect point of entry. So I think that you have to work. So I can give you one example. There's I want to meet this investor, right? Investor guy. So I was looking for this guy. I won't name that person, right? Sure. So I was studying this guy, what he likes and all that. In fact, I was virtually following him. Where is he? And then generally what I believe is that if you really focus on something, I want to meet this guy or I want to achieve this, it becomes like a mantra to you. You can achieve that, right? So I was following this guy and suddenly I saw him in the elevator. So this is a perfect elevator pitch moment. Then luckily I knew that he is in Singapore these days. So maybe the last update on his Facebook or whatever was on that he's in Singapore. I know him, but he doesn't know me. But I called by his name and said, I thought you were in Singapore. Just that. Then he looked up and said he knows this guy. But maybe he must have thought that because he knows that where I'm going every day, he started talking to me. Yes, I went to Singapore, I came this morning, I'm going for that. And there was a discussion. Today he's one of my best friends. So that happened because I was ready for that moment. So if you were just coming up with a product idea to pitch, that won't happen because elevator pitches you can't do product ideas. It's about some connection. So you have to get ready for that. So it's that networking style has helped me a lot. So basically I managed to get to know a lot of people, especially last few years, and a lot of my work has become really easy because of that.
So every organization has a unique set of work ethics and values. How would you look into, what's your thoughts on that?
So I'm playing, for example, I'm coming from now, I always say that I'm coming from a startup background because my last 5-6 years on startups. And if you look at startups, there is no, well, you can call it work ethics, but then the work ethics of startup is very different to work ethics of a corporate life. For example, say my co-founder, I can call him even midnight, right? There is no work ethics like, you shouldn't call your, so I will take the phone and he also call me back. Even 1 o'clock he will call me. If there is a requirement, he will. So but then at Slintech I don't do that. So Slintech I try to maintain, well, the people just below me I call them sometimes or maybe just send a message and then, so depending on the organization. So I have to strike a balance between what I do. For example, startup, it's totally different. It's 24 hours sometimes. Then few people, everybody does everything. There is no this thing. But then when it comes to Slintech, I try to keep it as a very professional organization, but then I'm in the process of changing the organization. So it's like a transformation period. So it has been, I don't know what to call it. There's a lot of changes has to be there. So that's why we are looking at transforming entire Slintech. So we want to do a lot of things differently. So some of the things I brought in were like, I don't know whether it comes under work ethics, but for example, looking at how you work in organization entirely different way. For example, it's not about say it was up to April, it was known as a research facility. So now I'm telling them it's not a research facility, right? You have to look at it as a like a commercializing arm or some organization that you are trying to change the entire country through science and technology. So it's so you have to work in a different time. For example, you're still working from say 8 to 5, but then there can be work that you have to complete within the week. So I allow them to go home anytime, that's fine, but then your work might be in a different cycles. So I'm trying to change that, like for example, how a startup looks at, not the same mold, but then in a different style, but because some of the things you have to it's a very volatile environment. For example, a lot of changes happening. For example, generally research, for example, if you are doing a PhD research, everything you can plan it. Say I'm first doing this part and then I'm going to check the characteristics of this material, likewise you can plan. But here they are not allowed to do like that now. So they are in a very volatile environment. Things are changing so rapidly. So well, certain things are changing, like you can't have, say, I can't ask them to come and work on weekends, but people, when they understand, they even come and work on weekends also. So I don't know if I answered your question, but it's depend on the organization and the requirement.
So how do you motivate your staff to achieve the vision you have for your organization?
So I think it's so there's this particular, I don't know whether you read this book, Homo Sapiens. Have you read that book? So in that book there is one particular section. They give this example. Say if you look at a troop of monkeys, the maximum is about 25. If you look at any troop of monkeys, maximum is 25. Because biologically, a leader can lead only maximum is 25. So it's a biological phenomena. But you see that only that the leadership, right? The leadership quality beyond 25 only on Homo sapiens. The reason behind that is that, I mean, without anything else, you can lead a 25. Some people say even up to 50, but say 25 is the number. So you can lead up to 25 people or animals or whatever biologically. So if you have a more strength, or so you can be a leader of a 25 gang, right? But humans sometimes lead like country, right? Millions of people, right? Say China, it is a billion people, one person leads. So how you do that is you have to come up with a vision. So that's where this whole idea of vision comes. Say if you want to lead a company should have vision. So you don't direct towards you direct the people towards the vision. So you have to create a vision that everyone should understand. So that's the importance of a vision. So you have to create a vision which is not only your vision but everybody's vision. So everybody works towards that. So how you create that is the important one, which has to be the vision of everyone. For example, if I'm a scientist also should work for it. If you are a janitor also should work for that vision. If you are the person who makes the tea in the company, he also should understand the vision. If you are the business manager, he also should understand the vision. But that vision has to be very simple and something that you are proud of achieving. So when you set that, everything falls into place.
So moving on to the next question. It is said that change is the only constant in the world. So how do you go about when you want to implement a major change initiative at work?
So if I take even Slintech example, so it's something you have to understand is that there are set of people you can never change. No matter how you try, you can't change set of people. So you should understand that. But then maybe, I don't know whether it's a majority or maybe a minority, there are people who you can change. So it's you have to set the vision and why you should all do that. But with all that, there are a set of people who you may not be able to change. So you have to understand that. But try to understand who are the people who would probably help you for that particular change that you want to do. So basically you have to understand the strength of each and every person. So it's always is a people's game, it's a mindset game. So you have to understand that not that you play politics in an organization, but then you have to understand everyone's motivation and talent. Some people, and again some people may never want to change, so let them be as it is, but then you do the change with the people who really want to change. So at one point of time if you are lucky, those people also might start changing. So, but you have to start somewhere, but then you have to understand that you can't change everyone on the same day.
So, to wrap up this very insightful discussion, could you tell us what your vision for yourself, family, and collectively for the nation might be?
So there's something that I really work on these days. In fact, why I left my corporate life also for that same reason. So it has a personal achievement plus an achievement for the country, and of course, if you achieve something that level, your family life also become good. So that automatically will happen. So that's how I look at it. So something that I saw was this particular scenario that in 2014 I saw this report saying Sri Lanka's high-tech exports are 1% out of total export, which is not bad. The bad part is actually 40 or 45 years ago. Now, of course, about 50 years ago, the figure was the same. So, over a period of 50 years now, Sri Lanka's high-tech export as a percentage of total export has not increased. It's still 1%. But in that same period, South Korea developed it from 8% to 42%. Singapore is today around 49%. So you see there's something wrong in Sri Lanka. So you can't blame the governments, because number of governments have changed during that time. A lot of leaders have come. We have produced enough and more engineers to scientists to various people, but that has not changed. So my personal vision is actually to bring Sri Lanka's high-tech exports up to 5%, which I believe is like a tipping point of how you identify a country as a developing country to a developed status. So that's what I'm working on, like I have a sort of 8-year plan. So this is the same thing that I pitched to even Slintech also, which is like a starting point. That is where I left Dialogue also. It's the same thing that I pitched to various my startups as well, which I'm got involved. And because of that, for the same concept, I got the Eisenhower Fellowship as well. So I'm working on the same concept. So my vision is for the next, say, 10 years is to bring that magical figure of 5% high-tech exports out of Sri Lanka. So that's I do a lot of things, but all these are targeting towards achieving that. So I hope if I achieve that, it's good for the country as well as my family as well.
We sincerely wish you would achieve that for yourself and as well as for Sri Lanka also. So thank you very much for this very insightful discussion. I think many of us can draw a lot of inspiration from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.